recently there was this deck list that kind of popped off on Twitter. I mean, this is a random Japanese tournament result, and it got 2,000 likes and 1,000 bookmarks, which means that people are like kind of actually seeing this. And what's interesting about this is it is a post-rotation Feraligatr deck, but as opposed to focusing on the thing that most people jump to mind about Feraligatr, which is he can do 280 damage on a one prizer. It's more so focusing on the fact that both of his pre-evolutions have really good text on their attack. And so it's finding different ways to combine all of these aspects of Feraligatr and turn it into this really, really cool control deck. So much so that it's even caught the notice of Sander. And if you don't know who Sander is, he is a very prolific control player in the competitive Pokemon TCG scene. You probably know him from making the Mewtwo V Union deck, which was a powerful deck at the time that it was made. And he's also made plenty of other control decks throughout his time. So if he's noticing this, then that must mean there is something to it. I played a couple matches of this, and I was really shocked with how cool this deck is. So if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment down below, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the games. Alrighty, and starting with the first game here, I will have to excuse what has happened, because my recording setup ended up failing to actually start recording the first part of this match, and so we're like 2 turns ahead. I believe I went second. I've been choosing to go second with this deck for a couple of reasons, but regardless, not much has happened. My opponent's just been slowly setting stuff up. I have a Mimikyu in the active, and my opponent is playing the now popular Dragapult Dusclops deck. Here, my big thing that I'm trying to look for in this matchup is trying to see if there's anything I could get on my opponent's side. And obviously, I also kind of want to get rid of this Badoo as quickly as possible, so prioritizing my Munkidoris here feels good, because it definitely feels like something that the opponent wants to gun down, if possible. So, having double Munkidori protects me from, just a couple things here. We are going to go ahead and get a prize here as the Dusknoir goes ahead and takes stuff out. I also haven't necessarily talked about my win condition yet. So, the win condition in this deck kind of changes depending on what you're fighting against and the scenarios present at you. So, if you want the most straightforward condition, it's Feraligatr does a lot of damage. So, if you can keep charging up Feraligatr, then you'll probably get pretty far ahead. But, most games don't go like that. If Feraligatr could do that consistently, it would be great. Unfortunately, we just don't live in that world. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the Duskull because it forces him to blow it up, and it forces him to give me an additional prize, which could be really bad for him. And then I'm also going to go ahead and just use Lana's aid. This is a post-rotation deck, so I don't know if the pre-rotation version would include something like a Super Rod instead. There were a couple of changes I made to the deck. Most notably, I cut one Luxurious Cape and added a rescue board, and then I also took out 2 Arvins for 2 Aridas. Just because we have access to those tools, I might as well try them out. Here, I'm going to big bite my opponent, so they are stuck here in the active, and the only way that they could possibly get out is by blowing themselves up. Which, is still not great for me because they'd be taking multiple prizes, but it would allow me to, find more tools or get closer to my endgame state. And if my opponent ends up having to blow this up, I'll be sent down to 3 prizes. And that'll allow me to kill Fezzinippi, and then only have to kill one other dude, and that sets me up perfectly. Unfortunately, we're gonna get Iono'd here, but low-key, I'd much rather have that stuff in the deck, since we are banking off the back of Grand Tree to mostly get our Feraligatr line set up. Since having access to both the flip turn attack, I can't remember what's called immediately. It might be like Reverse Jet or something. And then also having access to Big Bite are huge. And right now, I'm looking at that Fez. I do believe my opponent already played a Switch. They might have. Which does mean they might be stripped on options of how to get out of here. Here, I really wish I could get my Munkidori set up, but I am just going to go ahead and grab the Counter Catcher. I know that if I don't Counter Catcher and trap up the Fezzinippi this turn, then I'm almost certainly cooked. It also means I have to use my one Night Stretcher getting the, what's it called? Getting the water energy back, but we have more Lana Zades, and we have more dark energies in the deck, so I'm not too worried. And here, my opponent's kind of in a bad position, because they don't have a lot of great ways of actually getting this Feraligatr out. They might run a Turo, they might run a Switch, and then they're also pretty low on energies, so actually going down the route of putting 3 energies onto that guy and attacking me might be a little rough. I think the other thing to note as well is that I have the luxurious escape my Totodile to protect me from Dustor Bombs, so he can't he can't force me to break the lock by getting rid of my only thing that can lock him up here. And now, you know, Big Bite is only kind of stalling me for time now, so I have to figure out a different game plan. Thankfully, I draw Luminous Energy here, which kind of saves me from being like, okay, now what do I do? And I'm gonna go ahead and research. The last thing I really want on my bench is a different Totodile. I really need another Totodile in play, so I can evolve it up to Feraligatr. Mostly because I don't want my active Totodile to be the one that has to use the ability. I'm still gonna go ahead and Grand Tree my guy up here. I was thinking about saving it for after I get my other thing established, but it's like, I need to start making some progress now. I can go ahead and start pumping some damage onto the Duskull, and if I'm able to kill the Duskull before it evolves, that would be good for me. But yeah, so with my Big Bite, I'm able to, you know, chunk the Feraligatr down just a little bit. This will set it up to be killed easier. Unfortunately, he does have the Arcady, but that's fine, because it just means that my Munkidori is going to find the KO on the Feraligatr instead. And like I said, I'm still looking for the ability to maybe set up another Totodile on the bench, though at this point, because of how weak the Feraligatr is, I might be able to just Big Bite my way over there, and I'll have 6 damage available to spread between both my Munkidoris. So I really don't need that much more good to happen here. As he ends up bumping me a Grand Tree, that kind of sucks, but it happens. I'm thinking about pulling something out of my deck, and I think at this point, I probably should, because I'm looking to hand destroy my opponent right here with the Iono, and taking a card out of my deck would mean that I have a higher chance of finding the Iono. I also, like, almost don't want to, what's it called, remove this hand, only because, like, Counter Catch is really nice, and I'm definitely going to need the Counter Catch to win, because like I said, I'm going to have to take the knockout onto the Feraligatr here, as he charges up an energy. It would be kind of mean if he ended up sniping me, but at this point, it looks like I probably won't need to use Big Bite again. I can probably win next turn as long as my hand doesn't get disrupted. And seeing as my opponent played an Arven here and didn't grab a switch or anything that would get him out of the situation, I'm pretty sure I am in the clear. So what I can do is I can go ahead, attach another energy, you know, put the damage on myself and buff up my attack, and then I can counter catcher up something else, use the Munkidori to kill the Feraligatr with my damage after, you know, Big Biting it and chipping it down, and now I can just go ahead and kill the thing, the active, and get my prizes. So I was really able to just, like, scam maneuver my way out of the situation here, which is so cool. Definitely, like, one of the coolest win cons I've had in a while. And I'm a really big fan of these trapping strategies. I'm not a big fan of Block Lax, because Block Lax decentivizes you from using other Pokemon, but I love stuff like Mawile and Tempting Trap. So this is right up my alley and the type of stuff I enjoy. I put it, shows off a Mimikyu here, and it passes. I'm like, oh, what is this? They might not be doing much because they're not entirely sure what I am and whether or not I can actually, like, attack or get past this. So I'm just like, okay, well, I'm just gonna go ahead and try to set up my stuff, because if this is like a bird control or something like that, then I want to be able to set it. And if it's Block Lax, I can just concede. You know, easy as that. My opponent's got an Artazon and revealed Oki-doki. I had a lot of single prize matchups when I was playing into these higher ranks. It's very strange, but, you know, I guess when people get the Arceus, they're just, like, done playing real decks. They're like, okay, I made the Arceus, I can goof around now. But my opponent's, you know, deck is kind of cool. It's unique, at least. I wouldn't say this is the greatest situation for me, because I'm still kind of vulnerable on the bench here. I'm pretty sure the Oki-doki knocks out my, my Croconaw right now, so I'd love to get him evolved and get him a little bit more HP, just like that. I also don't really want to retreat here. I don't remember exactly when I changed the deck to include the rescue board. I know the rescue board change was the last change I made, and the Irida Arven one was like the first one I made. So, yeah. Also, my opponent has a bunch of Mankeys, I think. I believe those are Mankeys on the bench. So definitely like a weird situation. Not something I'm super used to fighting against. He's gonna go ahead and take up my Munkidori. So it sucks to lose the Munkidori and the energy on it, but it's like, what can I do? I'm gonna go ahead and just Artazon out. And honestly, I'm thinking that in this matchup, it's probably best to just get ahead of the opponent. And not try to fall too far behind. So I'm able to Pokégear for the arena, you know, a change that's nice in this pre-rotation format while I still have it. And I'm just gonna go ahead and Torrential Heart and knock this Oki-doki out. He has 3 energies, it's a lot of commitment. I just want this guy out of here. I really do wish I could, like, Big Bite or Flip Turn out into something, but since his deck is all one prizers, it seems like my Mimikyu just would not be very good in this matchup. I feel like it's something I'm not able to showcase very well into my matches here, is that the initial strategy that came to mind for a couple of people when they were looking at this is like, oh, you could copy Croconaw's attack, and you can flip turn in and out of the Mimikyu, so the Mimikyu can, you know, body block attacks for you while the Feraligatr hit runs, which seemed like it could maybe be okay, but it just didn't seem like the optimal strategy. Also, I'm Night Stretcher for a Munkidori, forgetting I have another ape in my deck. Definitely should probably grab the Dark Energy instead. So that's a whoops on me. I should have just grabbed the Dark Energy, attached it to the Monkey, you know, and been fine there. And then I'm gonna go ahead and finally get my Grand Tree set up. This does give my opponent the Grand Tree, but if I recall either of the Annihilates, they're mostly just heavy hitters, so I'm not really too scared of what will happen here. And because I can't use Giant Wave anymore, I have to go ahead and Flip Turn out. I'm going to go ahead and just sacrifice his Totodile, and if not, he can also just evolve up quickly, and then also Flip Turn back out. So I'm not really too scared. How my Artazon plays, I don't want to give up my Relicanth, so giving up one of my attackers is fine here. Especially because at this point, my guys are so bulky. My opponent does slowly just evolve both the Mankeys and the Primeapes, which means he's not able to take Evolve of my Grand Tree. It doesn't matter for him, because he's still going to be able to get all these evolutions out, but it is just interesting. He is going to Tantrum, do a bunch of damage, knock my guy out, which is fine. I'm still looking for, like, fodder to go into, so having this, what's it called? Having these, like, Mimikyus are going to pan out just a little bit. I also don't really need this Grand Tree anymore, since it seems like, I've used, like, kind of all my gas for that. I'd have to, like, Lana's aid and slowly evolve stuff, so there it is. It's also nice that, like, in these single prize matchups, I'm able to use Mimikyu, or not Mimikyu, I'm able to use Munkidori to chip away some extra damage, so I'm able to get advantage in that way. So this is, like, the more aggressive version that you're seeing here. I'm still using reverse thrusting, but this is also just, like, to save my skin, essentially. And then, yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and keep slowly taking prizes. And it kind of, like, doesn't matter what my opponent does right now. They can maybe Iono me, but I'm looking to Iono them. And even if they do, like, they'd just be knocking out the Totodile, let me send it back the Feraligatr so I could get another knockout, right? So it's a tough world for them. And they are going to go ahead and Night Stretcher up a Mankey, I believe. And the Mankey only has 60 HP, which blows for them, because all I have to do is declare my ability and then move all the damage onto it. So it's like, you know, what are they supposed to do? I think it's really cool that you can use the ability on the bench. So it means that, like, if you are chopping a Big Bite, you don't have to rely on, what's it called? You don't have to rely on, like, doing overkill damage and breaking your lock. The fact that the ability can be used from anywhere is really sick. And we're just going to go ahead and kill, you know, everything on the field here, get some max value, and win the game here. Woo! So, that was Oki-doki. This one is Gardevoir, I believe. This is an actual, like, deck. I don't think my opponent plays this match extremely well, but also, like, if I saw my opponent doing this stuff, I would definitely be confused or not ready to play around it. I do think that is one of the good things about this deck is that you have no, like, most people aren't going to be able to expect all this stuff from happening. I didn't even realize what I was doing until I actually started playing the deck and I started seeing more of these lines. But, I feel like that also might be one of the issues of the deck too, in that if you are playing this in a very, specific way, and your opponent knows what to look out for and how to, like, beat it, then it can be very hard. It kind of reminds me of the Relicanth deck I was playing, where, like, on the ladder it was a menace, it was beating everybody, but nobody knew how to beat it. And so I was checkmating a lot of people because they're overcommitting to the wrong resources. And it kind of feels like with this deck, it's the same way, where people aren't exactly sure how to beat it. So once I start doing this stuff to them, they're like, oh, I'm in a bad position. This is what I thought the deck was going to be. So I feel like if you play this deck multiple times to a person, the other person's going to start slowly winning more against you. That said, it remains to be seen. This is a relatively new deck, and this is a deck that, you know, wasn't even meant for this format, you could say, right? This is definitely meant for the, I'm trying to remember what it's called, for the post-rotation format. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and get all this stuff moved up. I do wish I had something else here to get me out of this situation, and I'm just going to go ahead and grab the research. I'd love to grab the counter catcher, or use the counter catcher on something relevant, but low-key, I'm way more terrified of this Munkidori, just because it can, like, maybe disrupt me and maybe take an extra prize somewhere. So I'm just going to go ahead and knock it out, losing one of my counter catchers, which are my only gusting options in the deck, which is fine. I feel like this deck does want to play from behind, because it makes, like, counter catchering into doing, like, a bunch of, like, supportive supporters or disruptive supporters is really good for your game plan. And I've never felt the need to, like, aggressively boss something for game. You know, I don't think this is a deck that tries to win the game while being ahead, which is why I don't, you know, worry too much about not having a boss. And obviously you can't run the Prime Catcher because the Grand Tree is extremely important, as we just saw there, for actually getting off the ground and letting us do cool setup stuff. Gardevoir seems like it could be a tricky matchup if the opponent is able to play it well. That said, it seems like they're having kind of a rough start here. I'm not sure if they really wanted to, you know, evolve immediately into Gardevoir EX, but it's a play that they deemed correct. But I will say, with the double Munkidori on my side, I think there's a chance that I'm able to just pop out a lot of their attackers. And so they'd have to focus on, like, you know, counter catcher or bossing up my Munkidori, or using the Screamtail to knock them out. And thankfully, to Lana's aid, like, I can just recover both those things immediately, so I'm not even too scared about losing either of those things. So I think I'm favored, maybe? It's tough. Also, currently, because this is the pre-rotation format, I think the Radiant Greninja's prime fodder to get Big Bite trapped. That said, I'm not sure how long I can maintain that lock against the opponent, since they have a lot of card draw. Also, they dropped their own ball wow, and I'm like, oh my goodness, that's definitely a jump scare. I was not ready for that. I presume they just don't want to lock up their Drifloon right now, because they want to use the Drifloon to possibly knock out the Feraligatr. So they're going to, you know, attack me with Bite here, which is definitely crazy. This definitely doesn't feel like the correct play, but also my opponent doesn't have anything else going for them yet. They do Iono me, so maybe they can get some Curlias off of this, but yeah. I was half expecting my opponent to use Curlia or use Grand Tree to only evolve into the Curlia and not evolve into the Gardevoir, just so they could get, like, a trade out of their deck. It'd just basically be like an Artazon for a Curlia, which would be kind of good, right? That was what I was thinking. But we do see him go to Gardevoir and start taking prizes against me, which is good, because now I get to... Oh, also, I'm stupid. I really wish I saved my energy attachment here, so I can just attach to the Munkidori and knock it out. But I attach to my Feraligatr. Oops. It's not necessarily the wrong play. It does keep us even for now, which I don't mind. And I'll have more opportunities to do that. It just means that I'm gonna, you know, stay in more setup and more stabilized on my side of the field. So if I ever need to, like, you know, counter catcher up the Gardevoir and try and knock it out with Big Wave, I'll have that more readily available. So it's not even, like, the worst play in the world. I'm just getting my attackers more set up than setting up my Munkidoris. But, you know, definitely should have maybe thought about that a little bit more. Because there was a chance I could have gotten multiple KOs that turn and been ahead. But because I'm a single prize deck and my opponent doesn't have any ways of, like, prize gaming me, it's not, like, the end of the world, I think. Because I'll still be able to just, you know, out-trade my opponent in the end. I feel like, at least. Also, the fact that my guys that put damage on themselves are so tanky in the first place, they're not susceptible to, like, Dragapult or, well, kind of susceptible to Dragapult, but they're not really susceptible to, like, Frostlass or, I guess Dragapult to a degree. because I'm able to remove this damage, and I have such a high HP pool to work with, it's just a good situation for me all around. My opponent is going to dump some damage onto the Mimikyu here, which honestly I'm a little confused by. I don't know what my opponent is trying to plan here, but they are going to go ahead and throw up the Drifloon. Seems like they just weren't ready for that. They also sent the Gardevoir back in, which I'm just like, what is happening? Like I said, I don't think my opponent is playing this deck entirely well. I think they saw that Gardevoir won the recent regionals, is like, ew, that's cool, I'll play that. So they're still probably trying to figure it out. But my opponent is definitely, playing cards here in a very weird fashion. And I don't have anything else to add on to that. Still, I'm able to use this as a way to also learn my deck too, because I'm in the similar boat. I don't know what I'm doing. Listen, this deck is definitely like a weird pile. I'm gonna go ahead and Arven and grab all this stuff because I'm really tempted to boss up the Gardevoir and knock it out, but I'm like, I'll pass. I think the Gardevoir only has like 10 damage on it. I can't tell from how I'm recording my setup right now, but I'm like, okay, well, I'd rather just get the Munkidori out, make sure that it can't spread any more damage. It makes me feel a little bit safer this way too, and I believe I'm thinking about what attack to use. I think I'm probably just gonna body block this. I'm pretty far ahead, and despite having the luxurious cape, it's like, well, if that happens, then I'll be able to boss up the Gardevoir and knock it out next turn, because they'll be at 1 prize, and then I'll be at 2. So, I'm not extremely worried. I'd be worried if this got paired with an Iono, but we'll just have to see, right? I definitely think killing the... Okay, I don't know why counter catches this one up. Maybe it's just easier to kill, but I definitely think I should have considered knocking out the Gardevoir. It would have made it really easy to kill later. So, yeah, I guess I should have killed the Gardevoir because the Mimikyu was still going to be there. And it doesn't seem like he's playing any cards to heal it besides that one Turo we saw already. And that meant that I could have killed the Mimikyu later, and it would have been really easy for Feraligatr to find a different knockout somewhere. So, that's kind of where I'm at right now. I will also say, it's nice that, specifically this matchup, Munkidori plus my Torrential Heart does not put me at enough damage to get knocked out by the Gardevoir EX. So I'm in a good position, but my opponent doesn't see the be so. They did do the whole Iono thing, but, I have Irida, so I can just go ahead and get Counter Catcher if this guy gets knocked out. And if not, I can grab Earthen Vessel, unless I used it already. Actually, I might be in trouble. I might not have the Earthen Vessel ready. But one other thing I guess I saw is that they used the Turo already, which means they can't switch the Gardevoir out. So, in this case, I could actually trap the Gardevoir up with Big Bite. I don't exactly remember how I ended up playing that out. But, it's a situation that we have. He is going to go ahead and Munkidori, move a bunch of damage on. And then he is going to charge up a bunch of damage. But I believe untooled up without the Bravery Charm, Drifloon only does like 180 damage because of 6 times 3. So we do end up living here, which is good. That's great. And then I am just gonna go ahead and put this. I don't really want to keep that out there. And I want to look at my deck. I want to, just possibly set up even more stuff. I'm gonna go ahead and just remove some of this damage off my healthy Feraligatr. I do still have the third damage on the other guy, but I'd rather have my other guy be at full in case it messes with their numbers. And it seems like we are just going to be in a good spot here. Because I am able to just trap the opponent up in the active. Like I said earlier, I won't be able to use Torrential Heart. Because I, didn't take enough damage off myself, which is maybe something I should have considered before I, took damage off my guy. But I would have gone for Big Bite and just trapped them in the active, and they would have had a hard time switching out. And then I could immediately follow that up with, hey, I'm going to attach a Water Energy and then knock you out with Big Wave, and probably win the game there. But my opponent concedes. They'll even live through the seal of that. Now we got Machamp. I'm trying to put out as many games as possible from this deck, and unfortunately all the games are kind of long. I feel like, one, this is a 1-prize deck, and 2, it's a 1-prize semi-control deck. So, you're just gonna have to kind of deal with the fact that, hey, this is not super great. I go ahead and Big Bite the Bidoof, and even though the stats effect gets cleared if they evolve, Bibarel has 2 retreat. So this means that they're effectively going to be stuck here in the active unless they play a switch or something. And trapping the Bibarel is great. They do attach to the reversal energy, and they are just going to go ahead and TM Evo, which is fine. They don't have the Pidgeotto though, so that sucks. I don't know if that's prized or if they just don't run it. Alas, alas. Here, I really don't have a whole lot going for me, so I'm just going to go ahead and continue setting up my Totodiles. I do appreciate having so many Totodiles available to me, but, you know, I still need to get another Munkidori, which, you know, I could have waited on this, but I do go ahead and take the knockout against the Bidoof here. I think this is because I know I'm gonna feel a bit pressured, and so I want to play aggressively here into the 1-prize deck. I believe this is after the Oki-doki game, so I kind of already saw that, like, hey, against these matchups, I can use Munkidori to kill something on the bench, so I'm never really that far behind. And on top of that, like, this is more of a mill deck on my opponent's side. They're not doing a whole lot of damage, so my Luxurious Escape will last 3 of these attacks, which is super solid. That said, playing around Guts is going to be a little bit tricky. Not too excited about that, but what can you do? He also has the handheld fan, so he's not making my situation easy for me. I'm going to go ahead and just grab the Irida here. And also, I'm doing these Pokégears in a wrong order. I should have definitely used Grand Tree first to thin out my deck and make it a higher likelihood to hit a supporter. We do play a bunch of supporters in my stuff, so I'm not, like, too worried about, like, missing something. But if I was looking for something specific, which I don't exactly remember if I was in this situation, it'd be way nicer to have that. I get my second Munkidori, thankfully, and I'm just going to keep chunking damage onto the Bibarel here. I'm actually not even going to try attempting to knock out the Machamp, mostly because there's no need to. I can just go ahead and reverse thrust out of here, and then kill this Munkidori damage later. I'm also thinking about whether or not I want to send in the Munkidori, because it will live a hit, and he also moves the energy off to the Relicanth. Which honestly is like, sure, whatever. You know, that guy will be able to attack, I guess. There really wasn't a better position you could have put it onto, so no, so be it. But it's just kind of amusing that now my Relicanth could technically attack. But also, like, so as I was saying, I put 150 damage on because I really don't need a fish for the coin flips here. My matchup is good enough that I can just go ahead and do 150 damage, put the Munkidori damage on. If they send another Machamp, then I'll be fine. If not, like, who cares, right? My opponent is not really milling anything super special. That's mostly because in this matchup, most of my items kind of don't do anything. Like, I have a bunch of Pokégears, and the Pokégears grab me supporters, but, you know, I have decent enough supporters, and then everything else, like, the counter catches aren't going to matter because I'm not behind either. He does end up giving me the Bibarel here. I think this is like the first matchup where I realized I can big bite lock people. And I'm like, oh no, it's so over for them. I go ahead and just like look at my deck. I really don't need these Buddy Poffins or anything. It would be nice to kind of like save them so I could, what's it called? I'm blanking out here. It'd be nice to kind of save my Buddy Poffins just to throw it back in the deck later for Iono, just in case I get close to getting knocked out. But I'm not like too scared. And my opponent is trapped here in the active thanks to my Big Bite, which means that I get to slowly just kill some stains on the bench. I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of that Pidgey. Thankfully, it hasn't evolved yet. I feel like Pidgey every turn would be kind of, or Pidgeot every turn would be kind of a menace. I don't know what he'd be doing, but it definitely make the matchup feel a bit closer. And I'm just going to continue to Big Bite. Because honestly, like, what is my opponent going to do here, right? They have to reveal the switch. If they reveal the switch, there won't be a whole lot going on here. And then, I have a couple options I serve. Like, I can continue the Big Bite, or I can, like, move damage onto the barrel, knock it out with my Munkidoris, and then take a hit, or take a swing at something else, which would be kind of nice. So I have a lot of options of approaching this matchup, but honestly, I don't see any reason to, like, break my lock here. I also don't Torrential Heart on the one on the bench yet, just because I have enough damage that it's, like, kind of not going to matter. Like, if I Torrential Heart onto the back and put an extra 10 damage on the Machamp, it wouldn't matter that much. But here, you know, I'm still going to be able to knock out two things at once. And I'm pretty sure I'm really close to taking all my prizes this turn, so I could just Torrential Heart on both my dudes, or even just one of them. I can put 3 damage onto the Bidoof, 2 damage onto the Machamp to knock it out, and then I just have to risk the coin flip against the Machamp. But I'm so far ahead that it's like, I can take the coin flip. There's no downside to doing so. And as I said, I'm just going to initiate my plan. Knock out the Barrel, knock out the Machamp afterwards, and then just risk the coin flip. And honestly, it's not even that much of a risk. It's like I win the game or I don't lose the game, right? So, I did already use my Torrential. Oh, I think I'm missing the energy. So I go ahead and just reverse thrust anyway, so whatever. I don't get the kill this turn. I think... I don't know if I could have fixed stuff like Night Stretcher or something like that. I simply cannot remember if I actually attached an energy that turn. But it's where we are at now. And I don't think I did. I'm pretty sure, like, I just didn't need to do that. Anyways, whatever. We just moved the damage off with the Munkidori with the game there. And finally, this is the last match. As a heads up, I do lose this, but this is like my first or second game with the deck, and so I'm like still trying to figure out like how to like win or play this deck or what it does. I think I focus a lot on trying to do the reverse jet into the Mimikyu stuff in this matchup, but I'm still like, you know, I'm still trying to figure everything out. Also, for some reason, this deck mulligans a lot, which kind of shocked me. There's like, I want to say there's like 12 basic Pokemon in the deck, so that was just a strange occurrence. I see this as an Eevee deck, and so like, this is not like the best matchup for me doing like reverse jetting into. The most it does is it can pressure my opponent into setting up the fan Rotom and using that, and it can maybe slow them down, but I'm not too sure. I'm just gonna go ahead and try to establish as much as I can here. I think I unfortunately don't have like the greatest setup in the world here, but say that the Artazon for this turn will mean that if my Pokégear hits like an Arven next turn, then I might have a lot of potential to set up even further. My opponent is just gonna get like kind of a crack setup, as they're just gonna immediately jump into the Fan Rotom and knock me up. They also boss up my Totodile. I'm not even sure if putting down the energy was the right play, but I think like in my head, I'm still thinking about like, oh, Feraligatr can knock everything out. I still don't think it's like a bad play because like I have extra energies. Like who cares? And I also like torn between the research and the Iono. I think like I should have maybe just grabbed the research here because I can just Lana's Aid all those energies back, which is like something that I hadn't computed yet. And you know, I'm not in a great position, unfortunately. I am gonna go ahead, trap my opponent into the active here, and try to force him to not get a knockout against me, since the Fan Rotom isn't doing enough. So that's the whole reason I'm doing this, and trying to see if I can like stall out for a better setup, because I really don't want to be in a bad position here. My opponent does Iono me, which kind of doesn't matter a whole lot, because I was likely just going to Iono them back, maybe even set up a Grand Tree instead. But yeah, still no Feraligatr in sight, and now I'm still trying to figure out like what to do. He does play a switch, which is good, because most decks only play one switch, which means that if I ever find, or if he ever puts out something that's worth trapping again, or even just the knockdown, like the knockdown isn't going to do a whole lot to me, and I could shrug off that damage easily. So it's like, okay, what's the game plan now? I go ahead, and I'm still just struggling to actually get my guys set up here. I have the Buddy Poff in my hand, so instead of grabbing the Totodile off of that, I could just Buddy Poff him for it, like a responsible person. I also don't know if I should be putting down these luxurious capes when he has the potential to knock me out with the Jolteon, but I figure, I might need this later, so I put them down now. I feel like someone with more experience on the deck could just tell me, but yeah. There's no reason locking it in place and letting him take 2 prizes against me, so I'm just gonna go ahead and reverse thrust. He can go ahead and have this Mimikyu, while I'm still struggling to find my win condition here. I don't have a Feraligatr set up, like, it's not a great place for me currently. I'm gonna go ahead and just check the deck again with the Artazon, see, like, what do I have available to me? And I'm gonna start putting down the damage onto, or not the damage, the energy onto my Mimikyu here. I really need to hit a counter catcher, so I should maybe just play the Irida, but alas, we don't. And I also go ahead Grand Tree, see I have everything in my hand, it's like, oh, okay. But now, I'm like, what do I do here? I think I actually go ahead and knock out the Fan Rotom, because I'm not exactly looking at the Big Bite trapping play yet. And I'd like to just get the Rotom out of here, because it could possibly, like, lead me to using Mimikyu as my win condition. I'll also go ahead and just boss up this Jolteon here. That way, oh, yeah, I boss up the Jolteon so I can actually make some progress, because I feel like I'm really far behind. Unfortunately, I don't have an extra energy available to me, so this sucks. I don't know why I'm doing all this. I'm basically panicking at the wheel. But, you know, this is my first time playing the deck, so I think it's good to see, like, how my thought process evolves throughout the game while I'm learning how to play all of this new stuff. And, you know, part of that is failing and not noticing, like, how the deck is supposed to function. I've definitely felt that before where I've played a deck and I've been playing it wrong the whole time. But after I've, like, understood the deck, it's like, oh, you're supposed to play it this way instead of doing all that. It's kind of like when you're playing, like, Lost Box for the first time and you're just, like, trying to do damage to everything. I go ahead and Big Bite the Jolteon here, only because I know Dolphorite says you can't attack next turn, so I'm safe for this turn, but I'm still struggling to find what my win condition is going to be. He's just going to slowly charge up everything, drop a research, and I really don't like that, you know, not a great position for me. I'm going to go ahead and just attach to the Croconaw, because in my head I'm still thinking, okay, I'm going to have the Giant Wave something and somehow win, but I should probably just attach to Luminous Energy instead. It seems like it isn't going to matter for us, thankfully, because I'm just going to be able to attach this next turn, but it's still not a great position for me to be in. I do actually see the Luminous Energy, and I don't want to get rid of the Counter Catcher, but at this point it's like, what do I do? And I finally kind of see it's like, oh, I could just trap things here. That's kind of swag. And now, I think my game plan is I want to Lana's aid a bunch of Feraligatrs and start trying to use Torrential Roar on the bench, because that would allow me to safely, you know, get past this. My opponent's going to do everything in their power to try to, you know, get out of the situation here. I'm going to go ahead and do the thing I said, which is set Lana's aid and try to evolve up all my dudes. If I hit Iono, it's actually kind of good, because then I can put all the cards back in the deck and immediately evolve, which will allow me to skip a turn. So if I hit Pokégear or Iono here, that, you know, that'd be a good sign. I'd also really just love to Iono my opponent down to 1 here. That'd be great. That'd be awesome. As we are going to go ahead and do that. He does actually Ultra Ball for the Lubrion. He is to need his deck for a Professor Turtle scenario. Not a card I expected him to run, but he does run it, so, you know. And that is basically his only way to win the game here, as I now have to, like, outrace my opponent. I have 5 cards left the deck. I need to, like, kill as many things as possible, try to get myself out of the situation. At this point, I'm also like, I don't know what my opponent can do, but I'm definitely racing against the clock here. I'm still just going to Big Bite my way through some stuff. And I actually don't remember if I have a Counter Catcher. So if I'm forced to not get this Noctowl, I'd much rather do it on my terms with the Munkidori as opposed to with the Big Bite and give him the tempo advantage. I'm going to go ahead and knock out the Rotom just to get, like, 1 prize. And I do get the Iono off of it. I'm kind of thinking, like, I don't have enough time to do all this, and the Jolteon, like, is not the biggest threat, but there's the possibility that, like, the Rotom could, like, kill a Mimikyu or something like that if I decided to make that my game plan. I'm gonna continue and just Big Bite things and try to get out of here. But I know my time is coming up shortly in this video, so I will say, thank you guys for watching. This deck is really cool, it's really interesting. I hope I was able to convey enough of my thoughts, because this is a really complex deck after playing it and to go through. There's so many lines and different ways that you can maneuver around the game. I'm like, okay, and it's like a deck I want to build in person figure. Yeah, there's the Turtles. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to leave a like, comment down below, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys around. Peace.